Thanks for being with me. I hope your day is going well and you're blessed with peace in your life that gives you that peace that passes understanding. And friends, we've got a lot of negative stuff going on in the world, so we all really need to have that peace because it is a hairy old world out there. This election is still up in the air, but it looks like the Democrats are going to take control of the White House at least, unless there's some miraculous turnaround. There's been some corruption and allegations of corruption, and no matter who wins the presidency, there's going to be a tremendous number of unhappy and angry people in the world. And that's very sad that we can't come together and feel good about things and feel positive about it. And so bitterness and hatred are the devil's tools, and we need to resist those. But let's talk about positive things we can do to resolve this climate problem that really shift the focus away from the Democratic and liberal environmentalist opinion that there's really nothing we can do to actually lower carbon dioxide levels significantly. All we can do is kind of hope to minimize the damage, and they're painting a dark picture of a world that's just going to have bad outcomes even if we make drastic cutbacks in fossil fuel use and carbon emissions. Friends, I'm more optimistic about that. I believe in the power of nature, the power of the soil and of photosynthesis at all levels, on the land and in the ocean and the marine wetlands, to sequester enormous amounts of carbon if we enrich the environment and stimulate it. And as you heard me talk about repeatedly, one of the keys that nobody really talks about is enhancing the mineral content of the soil, and in particular using broad spectrum rock dust to add all sorts of elements in small quantities in a water insoluble form, so that there's not an excess of nutrients in the soil. It takes soil life to pry those nutrients out of the rock dust and make them available to the plants through the miracle of soil life, which is abundant beyond belief and so numerous in number and variety to defy research and study, because there can be up to 1 billion microorganisms in a single tablespoon of soil. So a little mound of soil, of living soil that's vital, can have so many organisms in it, microorganisms, all the way up to earthworms, all doing God's work to make nutrients available and to feed the life on top of the soil. Most of the mass of living creatures on Earth live in the soil, creating the environment where life on top of the land, man and animals and other creatures, can live on the bounty that's coming from the earth, coming from the plants. So there's a symbiotic relationship there that is so complex and wonderful, and is really oftentimes ignored by many in the scientific community that look at sterile soil that's been deliberately sterilized to, quote, isolate the soil, where they can determine what happens to a plant if they add one nutrient or another, feeding the plant chemically instead of biologically, with soil life making nutrients available to the plants. It's amazing what soil life can do. It's amazing what microorganisms can do. You know, our own bodies are home to billions of microorganisms living in our guts and even in our cells, and making things happen for us in a miraculous way. So nature is very complex, and simplified, simplistic studies will show much lower performance than can be achieved by using the full capability of biology to make a difference. So my program for soil carbon sequestration is heavily geared to 4 basic areas. Practicing a regenerative agriculture, meaning growing something on the soil at all times that growth is possible. Not just planting one crop and then plowing and poisoning the field where nothing else grows for the rest of the year, but planting cover crops, planting crops, companion crops to grow with the grain crop or the vegetable crop to keep the soil all nutritionally alive, with plant roots sending essential nutrients and carbohydrates into the soil to feed abundant soil life, growing soil compounds and enriching the world and pulling carbon dioxide out of the air through active photosynthesis. So we need as much photosynthesis as we can get. We don't need bare soil. We don't need sterile fields. We need a vital, growing world where every bit of soil that can support life is supporting life, and that life is pulling carbon dioxide out of the air, making it into useful compounds, food and fiber and wood and other things. So we can do it, friends. The other thing is, many in the climate community talk bad about livestock, in particular cows. A lot of bad things are said about cows. Oh, cows emit greenhouse gases. Well, the greenhouse gases that cows emit are largely going to come about anyway as the organic matter that the cows eat, the plants decay and oxidize back into the environment. Much is made of methane emissions by cows. You may have heard people say, oh, cows belch up methane, and methane is such an incredibly powerful greenhouse gas. Well, friends, nature has a solution to methane in the atmosphere. Nature doesn't like an excess of anything, so there's a whole generation, a whole range of microorganisms, of bacteria that are called methanotropic, that love methane and actually can consume it out of the air, converting it into food to feed themselves and multiply. And they can live in soil, they can live in water, they can live in swamps, and they multiply in abundance where there's a surplus of methane. So when there's a lot of methane in an environment because there's a lot of cows, those methanotropic bacteria will multiply. There are a lot of methane emissions in nature, such as from tundra. There's a lot of methane embedded underneath the tundra in frozen form that is, in some cases, being released and melted and being released into the air, but over half of it is being consumed by methanotropic bacteria, and the rest of it is gradually decreasing. So methane is not going to rise up to a high level because the bacteria will just multiply up and pull it down to a level where they can barely find any in the air. So it is said that termite mounds are big emitters of methane, as the termites eat wood and other organic matter and turning it into carbon dioxide and methane. And the methanotropic bacteria gather around termite mounds in Africa and actually make the air around the termite mound less concentrated in methane than the atmosphere, because those bacteria have multiplied to such an extent feeding on that methane coming out of the termite mound. So we need to be more confident that there are natural solutions, and we need to carry forward on those. We may need to engage in breeding methanotropic bacteria and releasing them in areas to spread them more widely so that they pull more methane out of the air. There's a lot that can be done, friends, but changing grazing patterns from leaving a herd of cattle in one pasture for weeks or months at a time, or maybe even a whole season, where the animals are never moved by man to new ground, causes the cattle to eat the most desirable grasses and punish them and actually cause them to wither and die, leaving the less palatable grasses to thrive. So the pasture degrades over time, getting less palatable and less productive because the good grasses have been hammered so hard by the cattle, or even worse, by horses who are extremely destructive grazers. So a lot of acres in America are being badly damaged by leaving cattle or horses on the land for too long, hammering the grasses into oblivion. But believe it or not, It's just as bad not to graze grass as to graze it too much. The key is to graze it just enough to take the top growth off, leaving the remainders to regrow, keeping the roots alive, keeping that carbon dioxide flowing into the soil as carbon compounds, enriching the soil. We can make a big difference. We can soak up a big portion of the carbon dioxide that man emits by burning fuels, by reinvigorating our pasture land through rotational grazing, moving the cattle continuously to new ground, letting the ground have 3 or 4 weeks to recover and regrow before the cattle get back on it, similar to what the buffalo did in ancient times. You can go to the GetRealAlliance.org, join us, sign up on social media, donate to us if you really like the messages we're talking about on this show. We talk about the environment from a rational and Christian perspective, using loving your neighbor as a core value. And loving your neighbor means loving future generations and preserving the world so that they have a bright place to live, not sending us down the road to oblivion, but trying to take us on an upward path to greater productivity so that all can thrive in this world. All God's children can do a great life and share the good news. So go to the GetRealAlliance.org, read our articles, watch our videos, share the good news. There's links to insightswithdavid.com on it. You can share this video show with people. We desperately need more awareness. We're gaining members every day, but friends, if we're going to have an influence on the world, if we're going to take awareness of rock dust and remineralization to a high level, we're going to need your help. We're going to need you to share the videos. We need you to share the website. We need you to join us on social media. Insights with David Munson, insightswithdavid.com is available and can be shared, and we need your support to keep this show on the air, to keep building awareness and doing the good work that I'm called to do, which is to tell the good news that salvation is available to those that believe in Jesus, and we can solve the world's problems if we stop being selfish and greedy and short-sighted and start thinking about the big, long picture, which is to restore the topsoil to health, to restore plants and trees and ocean marine plants to health so that they all are soaking up carbon dioxide and making their microenvironments richer, supporting more life. We need to revitalize the oceans. There is so much to be done, friends, but I need your support. We need our TV show to get a lot more views. We need you to support us so that we can do more good works and bring more people to our websites. It costs about 30 cents to do online marketing to bring a view to our website, to bring awareness to our website. We hope that a lot of those people that we draw in are going to stay on the website and read the content. Make it a favorite. Sign up for us on social media. Sign up for our newsletter. It's all doable with money, friends, but we need to spread the good news about rock dust and about biochar, the wonderful, amazing compound that comes from charring or lightly burning organic materials such as plants or trees, to where only the carbon remains in a stable form that lasts for thousands of years and removes carbon from the carbon cycle permanently, putting it in the soil where it can store nutrients, store water, and serve as a habitat for soil life to thrive and do all the great things that it can do. So friends, we can do it with your help. Don't just be a passive entity saying, well, that guy's kind of interesting, but I don't need to get involved. Friends, our lives depend on it. The soil is going away fast at 10 million tons a day. 3,000 acres of desert is going to desert every day. That is alarming. That is destructive. And friends, we can't keep that up in the long term without living in a far worse world than we're in right now. People take it for granted that America can produce a lot of food right now. Well, friends, that isn't going to keep happening if we keep doing things like depleting the aquifers of water, allowing the soil to erode, and the minerals to be depleted in the land so that it becomes less fertile and more susceptible to disease and harm. There's a lot of negative things out there, friends, that we need to fight, and we need your help at the GetRealAlliance.org. Please join us, please support us, and make a difference in the world. Now, so we do cover crops and regenerative cropping, keeping the soil alive with growing plants as much as possible, minimizing tillage, maximizing nutrient recycling, and then we go do holistic grazing with rotational grazing to make the grass thrive and build up richer and more carbon sequestering pastures, which can sequester a huge amount of carbon that man emits, even making America carbon negative while we still use oil and gas. Then there's remineralization using rock dust. We need a massive program to remineralize forests, pasture land, and cropland to increase photosynthesis, increase biologic activity. There are studies showing nearly a doubling of tree growth with application of basalt rock dust, especially when we're planting new trees. There is so much we need to do, and we need to promote, friends. And your support and your signing up and your donating can make all the difference. We can really change the world if we all come together and love our neighbors ourselves and show love by loving the environment, setting it up for a positive future for humanity, and that will make a difference. So we have rock dust, we have making a lot of biochar and adding it to the soil to trap soil nutrients in the soil instead of having half the fertilizer that man puts on the fields going into the rivers and oceans and causing enormous pollution. We need to be efficient and conserve resources for the future, friends. Not be wasteful, assuming that because we have 50 years supply, we don't need to conserve. Well, let me tell you, I'm old enough that 50 years is probably beyond my healthy life by a long stretch, but my kids are young, and 50 years in their life puts them just a little older than me, and they could be in a dark place with most of the world's topsoil being gone and deserts being 50 million acres bigger, nearly the area of the Midwest going to desert. And a lot of that could happen here in America, friends. We're mistreating the western United States horribly, hurting the grasses, hurting the plants, and doing things that are increasing the desertification. So we need your support. The last thing is restoring ocean and marine environments to health. And that's a trickier thing, but there's some fantastic technology called Biorock. And you can look up Biorock online and learn a lot about it. But it's basically creating a low voltage electric field, very low voltage, in a steel framework or lattice that covers an area that you want to see increased vitality and life in. And this electric field builds rock deposits on the steel that preserves it and keeps it from rusting. But that tiny electrical voltage incredibly stimulates all types of ocean life and plants, from corals to oysters to other creatures, and we can really make a difference on a large scale. And I hope you will go to our website, and we're going to have my package, my program for America to become carbon negative on the website, and you can see the real difference you can make by supporting us, by promoting us, by sharing us on social media. We desperately need help. We're growing. on social media at about 40 people a day, but friends, I'd love to be at 4,000 people a day. We need to grow to be massive, to have real impact on the social discourse, on the solutions, and promote these positive solutions instead of the negative solutions saying we need to go to unreliable power and suffer blackouts and a sharp diminishment of quality of life by going to intermittent power from current solar and wind projects that have wildly fluctuating power that varies from a fairly high level to a very low level in a matter of minutes, meaning that your power would dim down and black out in short order when the sun goes behind a cloud or the wind goes through a lull and quits blowing. As you know, the wind is not constant. It surges, blowing hard and then quieting down. And we need reliable power. We need to focus on other solutions, including increased efficiency, but mainly we need to phase out coal as fast as possible by building new natural gas power plants that can provide power when solar and wind don't, and fill in the gap in short order when the sun goes behind a cloud for a day or two or three. Friends, there is so much illogic and irrationality in the world, which is one reason why I called my organization the Get Real Alliance, because when you tell somebody to get real, that's a real slap to the face saying, you're being irrational, you need to get rational, you need to think about the realistic things that work, not some pie in the sky dream. Dreaming that solar power, which goes through a bell curve like this, from low, very low in the morning to a peak at midday and sharply back down to a much lower level in the afternoon, to think that can somehow be reliable power using current photovoltaic technology is not rational. It's not realistic. You can't turn this into this. It just doesn't work that way. And there's not enough battery material. There's not an ability to build enough batteries to store the power. And nobody talks about how many extra solar panels you'd have to build to charge all these mythical batteries if they existed and could be built in a quantity big enough to provide America with the mountain of power that we use every day, whether it's sunny or cloudy, whether the wind's blowing or still. We need our power. I'd hate to be in a situation where this TV show was filled with brownouts and blackouts and where you weren't able to watch it on your computer or your TV. So please share with everybody. Please help us grow. This is a critical time. We really need to influence the Democratic climate proposals as fast as possible. I desperately need more money so that we can do marketing and we can grow and spread the good news. We've got so much to do and so many great projects, and it's so frustrating to me to be constrained by cash flow and not have the resources to really get the good news out there and share on a lot of other subjects. We're kind of concentrated on climate right now as a first area of subject, but there's a lot more material we can share. So if you're just tuning in, friends, this show and the GetRealAlliance.org are all about a positive, realistic solution to problems with a focus on the climate and having the soil and the plants soaking up all the carbon dioxide that man emits and more, to actually lowering carbon dioxide levels while we still use oil and gas, while we still enjoy gasoline cars, and don't go to some situation where we have to stand in long lines and take hours a day to try to get our electric car charged. Everybody in America doesn't have a garage. Everybody doesn't have a place to have a charger. So many people park on the street, park in an apartment parking lot where there's not availability of electricity to charge cars. You're talking about a major reworking of America's infrastructure. At the same time, the Green New Deal people talk about destroying the capability of the grid to generate large amounts of electricity by getting rid of the really clean power source that is natural gas, and phasing out nuclear plants, keeping the dirty coal plants going where there'll be a surplus of power at times because the coal plants have to stay on and the solar is generating, and then there's a sharp drop off to a shortage in the evening when you want to charge your electric car or cook your meal. Friends, we need to be very realistic. We need to get real. We need you to support us at getrealalliance.org. We need you to follow and join us and share us to do your part. If this show has meant anything to you, if you've just tuned in, the call to action is now. We need to change the discussion towards a positive path of rapidly increasing soil carbon sequestration, enriching the soil, spending a very affordable but large amount of money to remineralize the earth, and encourage farmers to change their practices from carbon emitting to carbon sequestering. We can do it, friends, with your help, but we need everybody to join. We need you to share the website, share the videos, go to our YouTube channel from getrealalliance.org and share it, join it, spread the good news, and let's make a difference in the world. Let's show love for your neighbor by loving your future neighbors, by loving people in other parts of the world, and really change the environment for the better, friends. Because that is what we live on this earth. We need to take care of this earth. None of us know when the second coming is going to be, but friends, we need to make sure that we've been good stewards of God's creation and taken care of things in the world. So soil carbon sequestration, biochar, basalt rock, ocean wetland rejuvenation, all that is part of the getrealalliance.org program. You can read a lot more about it on the website. Go to it, join us, sign up for the newsletter, and if you've got an extra dollar in your name, send us $1, send us $10. Anything helps. 30 cents will let us do online advertising to bring somebody new to our website. So if you're not bold enough to share the good news of this program and the Get Real Alliance program with your friends and neighbors, give us some money and we'll do the job for you. May God bless you and give you peace that passes understanding, and may you help us change the world for the better. Friends, have a great day and share the good news. Take care.